Through the turbulent times of the Three Kingdoms, but transformed into the ceiling of combat power, among the people, Bu.Isn't this just like cheating? From then on, a different Bu opened up a different story of the Three Kingdoms. Zhang Fei said, how could these three family slaves still become emperors? Cao Cao said, who said that Lv Fengxian was brave but not strategic. Such a fierce general, who is so proficient in power and strategy, is definitely a great enemy. Diao Chan, Fengxian is really too fierce. I can't live without him in my life. Zhuo. My son Lv Bu has the assets of a great emperor. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. No wonder a small mink cicada can. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this moment, in Chang'an City, Lv Bu looked at the familiar and unfamiliar tough face in front of him in the bronze mirror and remained silent for a long time. I am just a small online writer. How could this broken wall phone charger leak electricity and directly send me to the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty? The key is to travel to the controversial first battle force of the Three Kingdoms, Lv Fengxian, in later generations. As the saying goes, the red rabbit in the horse and the Bu in the man, holding the Fang Tian Hua Ji, specifically stabbing Cao Cao, what's wrong? It's specifically stabbing my adoptive father. The body in front of me appears to be over 2 meters tall, weighing about 200 pounds. It can be said that he is truly tall and strong, and the key is that his strength is also great. Of course, other parts are also great, and no matter what he pokes, he has capital. As the existence of the so-called ceiling of combat power during the Three Kingdoms period, Bu's personal combat power is undoubtedly beyond doubt. You should know that just a year ago, he staged a scene of the three heroes' battle against Bu at Hulao Pass. At that time, Bu was not inferior to Lu Guanzhang alone. Of course, it may be because all the skill points are focused on military force, so Bu's original intelligence is really worrying. Just being fooled by someone for a few words, he directly killed his adoptive father, the governor of Bingzhou, Ding Yuan, and then defected to Zhuo. It was precisely because of this action that he was awarded the honorary title of Three Family Slaves. Later on, he was repeatedly tricked by Wang Situ and used Diao Chan as bait to lure Lv Bu to kill his second adoptive father Zhuo. This time, he was pleased to mention the title of Killing Dad, because Ding Yuan is already dead now. The title of Three Family Slaves cannot be shaken off. As for Zhuo, that guy, he will definitely be stabbed. As the saying goes, in times of chaos, heroes emerge. Now it seems that the situation of the Three Kingdoms can be changed. Master. At this moment, a male voice interrupted Bu's thoughts. Looking back, I found that it was my subordinate Gao Shun. Gao Shun is a rare general who is honest, dignified, and rarely speaks, does not drink alcohol, does not receive gifts, and runs the military rigorously. Before, Gao Shun and Lv Bu were both subordinates of Ding Yuan, so they respected and admired Lv Bu very much. Later, after their defeat, they were killed by Cao Cao along with Lv Bu and Qin Gong. They were loyal to Bu until death and were also rare subordinates who were most loyal to him. However, later on, Bu couldn't listen to Gao Shun's advice and was annoyed by Gao Shun's words, so he didn't reuse him. Of course, in this lifetime, Bu would never make such a mistake again. Xiaofu, you're here. Upon hearing this, Lv Bu nodded. Today, Wang Situ invited you to his mansion to drink. Do you need to go with the Lord Shun? Gao Shun asked directly. Upon hearing this, Lv Bu chuckled lightly and said, of course not. Upon hearing this, Gao Shun hesitated for a moment and then said, Lord, Wang Yun has some criticisms about the Prime Minister in private. I think it's better to be careful. Lv Bu laughed harshly and said, Father Xiao, you have a heart, but I haven't put this old Wang Yun in my heart yet. And what can he do to me in Chang'an City? Upon hearing these words, Gao Shun stopped speaking. He was arrogant and wouldn't take anyone seriously, which was very impressive. However, Lu Bu knew very well that a good show was waiting for him in the Situ mansion at the moment. My filial father, I have an important matter here, but it's a long story and it's not something that can be explained clearly in just a few words. I'll discuss it with you when I come back. Upon hearing this, Gao Shun nodded and said, Shun always obeys the Lord's orders. Upon seeing this, Lv Bu stopped talking and directly changed into a robe with a waist and hip sword, then rode onto a red rabbit horse and headed towards Wang Yun's mansion. Arrived at Wang Yun's door to announce, and in no time, Wang Yun personally welcomed him out. Wang Yun is almost 60 years old. Although his hair and beard have already turned gray, his face is thin but he appears spirited. Seeing this, Lv Bu quickly took 2 steps and said, Lv Bu is just a general of the Prime Minister's mansion. Situ is a high-ranking official of the court. How dare I have the Lord personally welcome him? He really breaks the demon. Upon hearing this, Wang Yun bowed his hand with a smile and said, There are no other heroes in the world today, only generals. I am not a respected general myself, but a talented general. Marquis Doting, hurry up and invite me inside. Then he led Lv Bu to the back hall and invited him to take his seat. He then ordered someone to bring delicious wine and food. At the dinner table, Wang Yun earnestly urged him to drink, followed by praising Lv Bu and Dong Zhuo. Lu Bu almost felt embarrassed when he buttoned up his pants, but he still had to pretend to be very useful and laugh and drink. When the wine was halfway full, Wang Yun waved back the servant and said, Call my child. In a short while, a young girl dressed in splendid attire walked in slowly, holding a brocade box in her hands. Together, she helped Lu Pian look startled, and then bowed to Lv Bu and Wang Yunying. Although he had been mentally prepared before, Lu Bu was still stunned at the moment because this Diao Chan was also too beautiful, right? Huh, my Diao Chan is here. No wonder just a small Diao Chan can make Lv Bu and Dong Zhuo, 2 old perverts, turn against each other. This wave must be taken. Wang Yun, who was standing beside him, secretly observed and felt proud of Lu Bu's expression. He then pursed and said, Daughter, this is the legendary hero you have admired for a long time, General Lv Fengxian. Upon hearing this, Diao Chan bowed her knees again and said softly, I have long heard of the general's reputation. Today, upon seeing him, he truly possesses extraordinary aura. The sound was like a warbler crowing, and then he stole a glance at Lv Bu. He found that Lv Bu was busy looking at him with a straight face and lowered his head, but the ripples in his beautiful eyes were full of shyness. Upon hearing the sound, Lu Bu regained his senses and then bowed back, saying, Miss, there's no need to be too polite. Then he asked Wang Yun, I wonder who this young lady is. Upon hearing this, Wang Yun smiled and said, This is the little girl Diao Chan. General Meng's love for Yun is also very close, and coupled with the fact that the little girl has long admired the general's name, she was ordered to meet the general. Daughter, why don't you quickly present the golden crown you made for the general? Upon hearing this, Diao Chan quickly opened the brocade box in her hand and took out a golden crown embedded with several pearls from inside. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Wang Situ has just given you to me. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. And at this moment, Lu Bu's gaze was all on those fair and jade-like soft skirts. Okay, I didn't expect Miss to have such a skillful hand. So it's better to be obedient than respectful. Lv Bu quickly took it with both hands, while also pinching it on Diao Chan's small hand. Seeing this, Diao Chan cast a seductive glance at Lu Bu, half shy and half angry, pretending not to know. Wang Yun next to him had already seen everything. Then let Diao Chan sit aside and offer a toast to Lu Bu. After drinking a few glasses of wine, Wang Yun said when the time was ripe, "My daughter is in her 20s and 80s this year, and all she wants to do is marry a legendary hero. So I want to send her to the general as a concubine. I wonder if the general will accept her." Upon hearing this, Lu Bushi said, "Is Situ Gong taking this statement seriously?" Wang Yun smiled and said, "As the saying goes, a lady is paired with a hero. A hero must be like a general. I'm afraid that the little girl has no talent and doesn't meet your expectations." "How can you say that?" Upon hearing this, Lv leaned down and bowed, "I have received the gift from Situ Gong. It is truly an immeasurable oath of kindness as a reward." Upon hearing this, Wang Yun chuckled and said, "So I will choose an auspicious day and send the little girl along with the dowry to the mansion." Lv was overjoyed, but even Diao Chan had a shy expression on her face. After eating a few more glasses of wine, Wang Yun continued, "I originally wanted to stay with the general for the night, but I'm afraid the Grand Tutor might have doubts. In addition, as I am old and unable to handle alcohol, I am already drunk and unable to accompany my esteemed guests. I hope General will forgive me." Then he said to Diao Chan, "Daughter, you should accompany the general to a few drinks for me." After speaking, he went inside. Seeing this, Diao Chan poured another glass of wine for Lv and said softly, "General, why don't you try the golden crown match?" As he spoke, he directly took off the old crown that Lv was carrying. Seeing this, Lv grabbed Diao Chan in his arms with a slight force on his arm. The gentle fragrance of soft jade also shook Lv uncontrollably. "General, what are you doing?" And Diao Chan looked frightened. She didn't expect Lu Bu to be so anxious because he was still at the banquet, and Wang Yun had just left when he started making moves. "What do you think I want to do now? My little beauty?" To be honest, Lv has never seen such a beautiful and charming person like you before, so where can I wait? At the same time, he sneered in his heart. "Are you still trying to trick me? What if we don't offer some tangible benefits?" Lv didn't want to just make verbal promises, and finally waited for Wang Yun to deliver Diao Chan to Dongzhuo's mansion. So this blood must be taken by oneself. He doesn't want to wear a hat on his head. As for the age of Diao Chan, the age of 16 at this time is not small at all. So Lv doesn't have any psychological burden, anyway he's not someone who takes advantage for nothing. As the saying goes, if heaven does not take it, it will be blamed instead. Then bring it to you. As Lu Bu chuckled and spoke, his hands became dishonest. Not to mention anything else, although she is only 16 years old now, Diao Chan, who has been living a luxurious life at Wang Yun's mansion and has been practicing dance for a long time, still has a well-developed figure. "General, this is completely against the etiquette. I will have to wait until Lord Situ delivers me to your mansion." Seeing this, Diao Chan grabbed Lv big hands and begged. But Lv said, "Wang Situ just gave you to me, so sooner or later you will always be my person. What, are all the words you just said about admiring me false? Are you unwilling to follow me, or is it that Wang Situ didn't sincerely betroth you to me?" Upon hearing this, Diao Chan was taken aback, fearing that she would reject Lv and provoke him, and then break Wang Yun's chain of tricks. Helplessly, he said weakly, "General, don't misunderstand. Diao Chan just feels that this place is too. So please tell me about it in my room. Then please ask Miss to lead the way." Lv stood up with Diao Chan in his arms and followed Diao Chan's instructions towards his boudoir. It has to be said that Lv still respects Wang Yun very much, because Wang Yun said it was inconvenient to stay in the mansion and he did not stay. At 5 o'clock, Lv finally reluctantly let go of the already unbeatable Diao cicada and bid farewell with a plum blossom painting dotted with fallen petals. Diao Chan rested for a long time before struggling to get up and put on her clothes. Then, with the help of two maids, she struggled to walk towards Wang Yun's place. After all, Wang Yun is also a newcomer. How could he not understand what happened when he saw Diao Chan's appearance? Immediately, he cursed and said, Lu Bu is so rude. He dares to do such a thing directly in my mansion. My daughter, you have really suffered. Upon hearing this, Diao Chan frowned with a look of grievance and said, Sir, I was actually planning to decline, but to my surprise, Lu Bu, he said that I was not sincere. Diao Chan was afraid of suspicion in his heart, so he didn't dare to refuse. Will this ruin the master's plan? Upon hearing this, Wang Yun sighed and said, Lu Bu himself is a brave and unscrupulous person. How could he doubt it in his heart? This guy just saw that you were born well, so he was in a hurry for a moment. But it doesn't matter. In this way, if Dongzhuo's old thief gets you, then his Lv Bu heart will naturally become even more resentful. I'm afraid this kid will have a taste for the marrow and wait for 2 days to come knocking on me again, so this matter shouldn't be delayed any longer. So you can take care of yourself for 2 days first, and then invite Dongzhuo over when I find an opportunity. At that time, everything will still proceed according to plan. On the other side, Lu Bu returned to the mansion to sleep and woke up at noon. After washing up, have someone invite Gao Shun over. What instructions does my lord give me? Gao Shun remained calm with a face full of honor and disgrace. Have you eaten yet, filial father? If you haven't eaten yet, that's perfect. Come and eat with me. After finishing, I have something to say. Gao Shun agreed and then split the table with Lu Bu to eat. It was a bit surprising to see that Lu Bu didn't drink, but he didn't say anything. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. If this great event is accomplished in Chapter 3, then you are listening at Novel Full.audio. After finishing the meal, he held back the people inside the room. At this moment, Lu Bu gestured for Gao Shun to sit next to him and said, Xiaofu, you have been with me for these years. Although I don't say it on my lips, I know in my heart that you are definitely the most loyal. Upon hearing this, a hint of emotion flashed in Gao Shun's eyes. It is fortunate that Shun wishes to serve the Lord and follow heroes like him. After patting Gao Shun's shoulder, Lv Bu said, There are some things I can say to you now. Recently, I have been planning a major event that concerns the lives of many people, as well as our own lives. So after listening carefully, whether you are willing to do this big thing with me or not in the end, you must never act for outsiders. Upon hearing this, Gao Shun said sternly, Your Highness, if you have any orders, just say them. Shun will definitely go through fire and water at any cost. After pondering for a moment, Lu Bu lowered his voice and said, I'm going to kill Dongzhuo. What? Upon hearing this, Gao Shun was startled and looked at Lu Bu with a puzzled expression on his face. Lu Bu had killed Ding Yuan without hesitation in order to join the current Dongzhuo. And although Dongzhuo is cruel and inhumane, he trusts Lu Bu extremely. What does Lu Bu mean by saying this now? Upon seeing this, Lv Bu said, Dear father, do you think that I only want to cling to Dongzhuo for the sake of glory, wealth, and status? Then you are wrong. Actually, I didn't kill Governor Ding back then. But at that time, he had already realized that Dongzhuo was powerful, and coupled with the fact that other feudal lords could not unite to suppress him, it was definitely difficult to achieve great things. So he is willing to emulate Jinka's assassination attempt in the past, and then use his own head as bait to lure me to gain the trust of Dongzhuo, the old thief. The purpose is to win the trust of the old thief, then approach him, and finally find the best time to assassinate him. Upon hearing this, Gao Shun was completely dumbfounded. How could there be such a hidden plot? Ding Yuan and Lv Bu are both very familiar to him. These two people are definitely not so tolerant. And if you want to assassinate Dongzhuo, then with Lv Bu wearing a sword and wielding a halberd every day to guard Dongzhuo's side, wouldn't that be a big deal if you wanted to use your phone? Lu Bu observed and asked, do you think that assassinating Dong Zhuo was just taking advantage of his unpreparedness and then stabbing him to death with one sword? Then you'll think it's simple. Killing Dong Zhuo is indeed simple, but the difficulty lies in how to kill him without causing chaos in the world. After all, the old thief Dong Zhuo still holds 200,000 heavy soldiers in his hands. In addition, since the emperor is young and weak, if he blindly kills Dong Zhuo without preparation, then he must be without a leader. At that time, various feudal lords will surely rise up in rebellion and eventually cause chaos and devastation in the world. Upon hearing this, Gao Shun couldn't help but suddenly become enlightened. It turns out that my lord Lv Bu was so thoughtful. But that's not right. Lu Bu shouldn't have such meticulous thinking, so there must be someone behind him who can guide him. But Lv Bu was able to bear the shame of killing his adoptive father and submit to Dong Zhuo for such a long time, and keep everyone in the dark. This really impressed Gao Shun. Turns out I didn't see through Lu Bu at all before. Is the timing already ripe at this moment? Gao Shun couldn't help but ask. Upon hearing this, Lv Bu said, "Didn't Wang Yun invite me to his mansion yesterday?" At that time, I was a bit puzzled because I didn't have much to say to him on weekdays. Why did this old guy suddenly invite me? I think this old guy must have some ulterior motives. As expected, after I went there, I said a lot of flattery and then used a beautiful singer from his mansion as his daughter to be my concubine. If I guess correctly, he obviously wants to learn from Li Su's invitation to kill Ding, the governor, with a red rabbit horse, and then try to win me over and take action against Dong Zhuo. If he really means that, then with his connections and prestige, he can ensure that the world will not be chaotic after Dong Zhuo's death. Lu Bu's flickering sound caught Gao Shunyan's attention in the mist, and then he scratched his head and said, "The Lord trusts me so much, and Shun feels extremely grateful. If there is anything I need, just give me your orders." Lu Bu continued, "Actually, I can't make up my mind now. I can only wait and see what Wang Yun wants to do. If there is anything you need to do then, I will definitely tell you. The reason I'm talking to you about this today is to prepare you mentally first. Also, I actually want to ask you, can I trust Zhang Liao and a few others?" Upon hearing this, Gao Shun pondered for a moment and said, Wen Yuan's words were also a capable assistant in assassinating his subordinates. Later, he joined Dong Zhuo's faction with the Lord, so he never mentioned any dissatisfaction with the Lord. Moreover, I believe in the loyalty and integrity of a hostage, and I am also a person who can be entrusted with it. Wei Su is the Lord's brother.in.law, so I don't want to speculate too much. Upon hearing this, Lv Bu sneered in his heart, because in the original work, Lv Bu was tied up by Song Xian and Wei Su to offer to Cao Cao after falling asleep from exhaustion while guarding the city. Well, I understand, but you must never mention this to anyone else. Even if the incident happens, after I tell you about it, you must pretend that I have never told you before. Shun knows. Gao Shun solemnly clasped his fists and saluted. Filial father. If this great event is accomplished, then we will both be heroes with a lasting history. Then Lv Bu said earnestly. In fact, he doesn't care if he can make a name for himself in history. He is now only thinking about how to whitewash the bad reputation of being a three-surname family slave and adoptive father assassin. After all, I still want to find a place in this chaotic world. And then take the entire world into your pocket, so that this chaotic war can be ended as soon as possible. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. I have been learning astronomy since I was young. Yesterday night, I observed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Since we have all traveled, who hasn't pursued anything yet? To achieve great things, one must have capable helpers. If I keep bearing the infamous reputation of being an adoptive father killer, I'm afraid no one will come to join me then. On the other side, Wang Yun was afraid of long dreams at night. The next day, he took advantage of Lu Bu's absence to find Dong Zhuo and said, "Grand Tutor, I would like to invite Grand Tutor to the grass cottage for a banquet. Would Grand Tutor be willing to honor me?" I don't know what the Duke is up to." Dong Zhuo couldn't help but feel surprised when he heard this. Because Wang Yun opposed the idea of deposing Han Shaodi and establishing Han Xiandi, as well as relocating the capital to Chang'an. Therefore, he always regarded Wang Yun as a thorn in his side and a thorn in his flesh. If it weren't for Wang Yun's reputation in the court, he would have long wanted to get rid of him. So their relationship was also strained. Why did Wang Yun suddenly invite him to his house? Is there any conspiracy or scheme here? Because Dong Zhuo also knows that he has made too many enemies, he is very suspicious. Wang Yun said calmly, "I have been studying astronomy since I was young. Last night, when I observed the celestial phenomena, I found that the Han family had run out of energy. And the great achievements and virtues of the Grand Preceptor, like the succession of Emperor Shun to Emperor Yao and Emperor Yu, are also in line with the will of heaven. So I dare to discuss with the Grand Tutor how to make the Emperor abdicate to the Grand Tutor." Surprisingly, such a thing happened. Dong Zhuo suddenly became energized upon hearing this. "Do you know if there's anyone else?" Upon hearing this, Wang Yun whispered, "How dare I disturb others without first discussing such a confidential matter with the Grand Tutor?" Upon hearing this, Dong Zhuoji exclaimed, "I will definitely visit tonight." That evening, as expected, Dong Zhuo arrived at Wang Yun's mansion in a carriage escorted by over 100 armored warriors. And Wang Yun had already had someone set up a luxurious floor in the center of the front hall. I heard that Dong Zhuo didn't dare to slack off when he arrived, so I personally welcomed him in and let him sit in the upper position. Continuing to push the cup and change the cup, of course, there were many flattery words, which made Dong Zhuo feel ecstatic and his face tremble with laughter. Just as he was about to ask Wang Yun how he wanted Emperor Xian of Han to abdicate to him, Wang Yun changed his tone and said, "How many prostitutes are allowed to have a family and can also dance randomly? I wonder if you could invite the Grand Tutor to cheer you up. Dong Zhuo is already a promiscuous person, so he must be pleased to praise him." After Wang Yun clapped his hands, Diao Chan, dressed in full attire, entered the hall like a flower surrounded by 4 dancers. Although Dong Zhuo has read countless people, he has never seen such a stunning woman before, so he couldn't help but be fooled by her. He wished he could just rush over and hold Diao Chan in his arms and molest her. Just as he was mesmerized by the sight, he suddenly heard the sound of iron armor leaves outside the door. At this moment, Lu Bu, dressed in military uniform, walked in with a square-drawn halberd in his hand. At this moment, Lu Bu was full of murderous energy, which scared the musicians out of tune and the dancers raised their hands and feet, causing chaos. Diao Chan was even more frightened by this scene, causing her legs to weaken and almost sitting on the ground. Upon seeing this, Dong Zhuo was swept away and felt displeased in Yaxing's heart. "My dear, why did you come here?" Upon hearing this, Lv Bu took 2 steps and clasped his fists in salute, saying, "My adoptive father heard that my adoptive father specifically came to Wang Situ's house for a banquet, so I came to guard him." Dong Zhuo thought that Lv Bu was worried about being harmed by Wang Yun, so it was not easy to blame him. Instead, he smiled and said, "It's really hard to bother you. I'm just having a few drinks with the prince tonight, so you don't have to be like that." "Okay." Lu Bu agreed, as if he had just seen Wang Yun on the side. Then he clasped his halberd and arched his hand, saying, "Bu has seen Lord Situ." Seeing this, Wang Yun was so frightened that a cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Why did Lu Bu come out at this time? But on his face, he had to pretend to be calm and say, General Lv is truly the backbone of the Grand Tutor. Since General Lv has arrived, please take your seat quickly." "Okay, thank you, Master Situ." But Lu Bu didn't take his seat either. He just thrust the Fang Tianhua halberd in his hand heavily onto the ground, and then stood behind Zhuo like a door god. As for Diao Chan, she was even more frightened and looked at Lu Bu in secret. However, she saw that Lu Bu's eyes were also staring coldly at her, so she quickly lowered her head and dared not look at him. How could it be that I ruined the elegance of my adoptive father and Lord Situ? You don't have to worry about me, you can continue playing music and dancing. Lu Brang said in a loud voice upon seeing this. Upon hearing this, Zhuo chuckled and said, "Don't take it amiss, Duke. I'm just a little silly and confused. Let's continue playing music and dancing." But where can Diao Chan still dance? At this moment, Wang Yun was also afraid of revealing his horse's feet, so he quickly signaled to let Diao Chan leave, and then replaced a group of dancers. Zhuo just watched the dance of such a stunning beauty as Diao Chan, and when he looked at these mediocre and vulgar fans in front of him, he felt it was dull and tasteless. After watching for a while, the dancer waved back and said straightforwardly, "Wang Gong, during the day, you told me what to say about placing the Emperor's Zen in my place." Upon hearing this, Wang Yun had no choice but to grit his head and say, "The meaning of Taisha Yun is that the Emperor's weakness is not enough to be feared now. And although some of the civil and military officials in Chang'an City may stand up against it, as long as we find them one by one, or we can appeal to emotions and appeal to justice, or use other means to influence. The only difficult thing is the various feudal lords outside the capital. If they hear that the Grand Tutor has ascended to the throne, they may have to unite again to cause trouble. Not bad." Upon hearing this, Zhuo also recalled the day when he had just entered Luoyang and the 18 feudal lords joined forces to suppress it. If it were 10 years ago, then there were not many soldiers and horses in the hands of various feudal lords in the Central Plains. But Zhuo, as the governor of Bingzhou and the governor of Hedong County, holds a heavy army and is not afraid of them. But since the Yellow Turban Rebellion, the court has allowed them to recruit soldiers from various places to suppress the Yellow Turban bandits, so all the feudal lords took the opportunity to recruit troops and expand their strength, and now they are each strong and powerful, which cannot be underestimated. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. This matter was all done by me alone, and farewell. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So he asked, "I don't know what clever plan you have, Duke." To Zhuo's disappointment, Wang Yun only said things such as using the name of the emperor to weaken the military power of various feudal lords. This kind of thing can be imagined with just your fingertips. Who would let go of the military power in their hands for nothing? Zhuo felt extremely disappointed, and after speaking for a while, he pretended to be tired and got up to go back to the Taisha mansion. Behind him, Lv Bu picked up Fang Tianhua's halberd and followed outside. After Zhuo got into the car, Lv Bu turned his head and whispered to Wang Yun, "Prince, please wait a moment. Bu will come when he goes." He turned over and mounted his horse to escort Zhuo, leaving Wang Yun in a daze at the door. It seems that Lv Bu has already become suspicious, but he didn't say anything in front of Zhuo just now. It seems that there is still room for a turnaround in this matter. Moreover, Lu Bu, a reckless man and a lecherous person, cannot deceive him with his eloquent tongue. If Diao Chan pretends to be pitiful and cries in Lu Bu's arms again, she will definitely be able to get away with this matter. Maybe there could be unexpected effects. Turning back into the room, he quickly reminded Diao Chan not to mention it. Sure enough, it only took half an hour for Lv Fengxian to go back and forth. "General, Wang Yun has been waiting for a long time. Please go inside quickly." Wang Yun quickly grabbed the reins of the horse for Lu Bu himself. Lu Bu didn't answer either. He got off his horse and strode into the city mansion, carrying the Fang Tianhua Ji. When the two of them sat down in the hall, Wang Yun accompanied them with a smile and said, "I think General has misunderstood. Let me explain it to you." Explanation. Lu Bu sneered and said, "You really should explain it well." "Wang Yun, where is my Diao Chan?" Wang Yun quickly said, "I'm resting in my boudoir. Please invite Diao Chan to serve the general." "Oh. I only thought you sent her to the Grand Tutor's mansion." Lu Bu sneered. Wang Yun's lips twitched and said, "The general was joking. Since I have already agreed to give her to the general as a concubine, how could I send her to the Grand Tutor's mansion?" In no time, Diao Chan arrived and hurriedly stepped forward to say, "Wanfu. I humbly pay my respects to the general." "Humph, I didn't know that my beloved concubine's dance was so graceful." Lu Bu glanced at Diao Chan and said. Wang Yun stole a glance at Lu Bu and pretended to be regretful, clapping his hands and sighing. "General, calm down. You really misunderstood. I didn't let Diao Chan show up just now. Today, the Grand Tutor suddenly found me and said he would come to my house to sit down. How dare I not agree? I came to my humble abode to serve with good wine and dishes. I don't know where the Grand Tutor heard that the little girl had some beauty, so he took the initiative to ask her to come and offer a dance. The old man dared not offend the Grand Tutor, so he did not dare to say that he had already promised the young girl to the general. I didn't think it all out. Please don't blame me, General. I apologize to General." As he spoke, he arched his hand and bowed to the ground. Lu Bu sneered and said, "You really didn't think carefully, but you didn't expect me to suddenly appear, did you?" "General, what does this mean?" "Forgive me for being blunt." Wang Yun gritted his head and pretended to be foolish. Lu Bu said, "Wang Situ, you said that the Grand Tutor asked Diao Chan to come out and dance on his own. Should I go back and ask the Grand Tutor if this is the case?" "This." Wang Yun's eyes flashed with panic. Lu Bu continued to pressure him and said, "Wang Situ, if I'm not mistaken, I'm afraid you're trying to use a beauty trick to make me and the Grand Tutor deviate from each other. You can sit back and reap the benefits of the fisherman." "Never before. General, this is what the King of Slaying agreed to." Wang Yun, whose thoughts were shattered by a single word, suddenly felt a cold sweat streaming down his temples. Is this person Lu Bu? What about having courage but no strategy as agreed? How can he see through his own thoughts like? Did someone give him a tip? It shouldn't be. He has only talked to Diao Chan about this series of tricks. Seeing Diao Chan's trembling appearance, it is natural that she did not tell Lu Bu. It must have been Lv Bu's wild speculation after being jealous. Upon hearing that Lv Bu exposed his plan on the spot, Wang Yun quickly denied it. Lu Bu sneered and said, "Wang Yun. If I send you Diao Chan to me first and then tell him about showing off in front of the Grand Tutor, then let me share my conjecture again. Do you think the Grand Tutor will believe my words or yours, this?" Wang Yun's face turned green. Although one has prestige and connections in court, it does not mean that one can rest assured. Zhuo is a ruthless and violent person. If he were to find out, he would definitely dare to send troops to slaughter his entire family. Diao Chan grabbed Lv Bu's arm and trembled, saying, "General, you misunderstood the meaning of the prince." Misunderstanding. Lu Bu suddenly pulled out a short knife from his arms and plunged it deeply into the plan with a loud thrust. This move was both sudden and full of murderous intent, which frightened Wang Yun and Diao Chan to take a step back, fearing that Lv Bu would launch a rebellion. "Can Wang Situ recognize this sword?" Lu Bu asked coldly. Wang Yun finally realized that the knife that Lv Bu had pulled out was actually the 7-star sword he had used to assassinate Zhuo for Cao Cao, and his heart was even more filled with awe. Lu Bu stared at Wang Yun with one eye and said, "Last year in Luoyang, Cao Cao went to the Prime Minister's mansion to assassinate him while he was sleeping. He used this dagger at that time. Later, I broke it and pretended to offer a sword before taking the opportunity to escape. The Grand Tutor rewarded me with this sword. I heard that there is also an ancestral 7-star sword hidden in Wang Gong's mansion. Can you please come out and have a look? Let's also compare, is it your 7-star treasure knife sharp or is my knife more powerful? Wang Yun gradually calmed down. Since Lu Bu had already known about these things, but had not exposed himself in front of Dong Zhuo, there must have been some ulterior motives. At this moment, he was constantly asking questions, even if he pretended to be confused, it would be of no use, so he made up his mind to take a gamble. With a serious expression on his face, he said, "General, there's no need to say. The 7-star treasure blade you're wearing is my family's ancestral one. When Mengda was going to assassinate Dong Zhuo, I gave him this knife. I also want to use Diao Chan to provoke discord between your father and son. Dong Zhuo, the old thief, caused chaos in politics and deposed the emperor, poisoned the empress dowager, eradicated dissidents, framed loyalty and righteousness, indulged in debauchery in the harem, and set fire to Luoyang. Every charge is enough to cut him to pieces. I am going to find ways to eradicate the old thieves, support the Han family, and eliminate this harm for the people of the world. Now that you have seen through it, if you want to kill or cut me, just do it yourself. This matter is all my own and has nothing to do with anyone else." After speaking, he raised his head and chest, and looked at Lu Bu. "Sir!" Diao Chan cried and fell to the ground, bowing to Lu Bu, saying, "General. Your Excellency Wang is a wise and loyal minister of the 3 dynasties, ranking among the 3 princes. Dong Zhuo, however, is a despicable servant and thief who everyone in the world hates to eat his meat raw. I kindly request that the military must prioritize the world and never. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. When a great man is born in heaven and earth, how can he be gloomy? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shut up. When a man speaks, it's your turn to interject. Lu Bu interrupted. Diao Chan trembled with fear and dared not speak anymore, only whimpering and sobbing. Please step back and don't fuss here. Don't mention the recent incident to others. Lu Bu said coldly again. Diao Chan dared not move and looked helplessly at Wang Yun. Only when Wang Yun nodded slightly did she plead guilty and leave. Wang Yun was delighted to see Lu Bu's attitude and tentatively asked, "Is it?" Lu Bu pulled the 7-star saber off the case and said, "Don't worry, Dong Zhuo is acting in reverse. Everyone should be punished, and I won't make things difficult for you because of this. To be honest, I am also looking for an opportunity to assassinate the old thief myself." Wang Yun was overjoyed and immediately fell to the ground, saying, "General, you are righteous. If you can get General's help, this matter can be accomplished." Lu Bu, however, moved his body away from his salute and said, "You don't have to worship me, I didn't say I wanted to help you." "Ah. Well." Wang Yun looked bewildered and said, "General, since we share the same aspirations, why don't we work together to plan big things?" Lu Bu said, "Because you treat me like a fool and want to use me as a knife, it makes me very unhappy." Wang Yun bowed again and said, "I really don't know General Gao Yi. I think General and Dong Zhuo are birds of a feather, so I didn't dare to speak to General. Setting this small plan is indeed intended to take advantage of the General's intentions. Please forgive me for my impoliteness, General, in consideration of the fact that we are both planning for the Han dynasty in the country. General, please prioritize the overall situation and do not act impulsively. If the General helps to kill the old thief Dong Zhuo and eliminate harm to the world, the General will surely be remembered forever and passed down to future generations." However, Lu Bu looked disdainful and said, "I said to Wang Situ, everyone is already an adult. Can you stop being so childish? Is it useless to just talk about things that are famous in history?" "I'm not afraid you'll laugh, Lu Bu is a pragmatic person who never values these names or anything." Wang Yun's mouth couldn't help but twitch. This is already so straightforward. If you don't look at the same name, then there's only profit left. Think again about Lv wanting to kill Dong Zhuo himself, but he has been reluctant to reveal himself and willing to recognize the thief as his father. What does this mean? It shows that Lv usually looks like he has a simple mind and well-developed limbs, but he always puts it on. Is this guy waiting for Dong Zhuo to usurp the throne before killing him and becoming the emperor himself? Thinking of this, Wang Yun couldn't help but feel a little creepy. As he tentatively asked, I wonder what practical benefits General wants. Lv asked in response, I don't know what benefits Lord Situ thinks I should get if I kill Dong Zhuo. Wang Yun pondered for a moment and said, if the general can really accomplish this great thing, he must be granted the title of Marquis of 10,000 houses, the title of General Zhengua, and receive 10,000 gold. As Wang Yun spoke, he secretly glanced at Lu Bu's expression. Unexpectedly, Lu Bu did not express anything, as if listening to an interesting story that had nothing to do with him. After Wang Yun stopped speaking, Lu Bu asked, is that all? It's gone. Wang Yundao said, General, although I have been appointed as the Minister of Personnel, I can only give you these promises for now. As for any more, the Emperor will personally issue an edict. Lv rubbed his chin and said somewhat awkwardly, Your Majesty, are you too humble? If Dong Zhuo is dead, who can the final say in the court? Don't you count in your heart? Wang Yunlu smiled awkwardly and said, This old man dare not speculate. Does what I just said, General, feel that it's not enough? Lu Bu shook his head and said, You know, Duke, now Dong Zhuo is my nominal adoptive father. The reputation of patricide is not very good. Wang Yun wanted to curse his mother. Just now, you said you wanted to kill Dong Zhuo. Oh, if you kill yourself, it's not considered patricide. Just cooperate with me. Seeing that Wang Yun still refused to speak up, Lu Bu simply said, If you want me to kill my adoptive father, you'll have to pay more. Wang Yun listened with a black line on his face, and at the same time, he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. It turned out that this kid only had money in his eyes and did not plan for the throne. That's easy to say. Yin asked, I don't know what benefits you want, General. Why don't you tell me? I also have a clear idea. Lv slowly said, Well, actually I don't have many requirements, only a few. Wang Yun smiled and said, General, please speak up. Lu Bu said, First of all, it is necessary for the Emperor to inform the world that I did not kill Governor Ding Yuanding in the beginning. But instead, it imitates the story of Jinka assassinating Qin and offering Fan Yuqi's head. After he committed suicide, he asked me to use his head to deceive Dong Zhuo. I was originally concerned about big men, and the reason why I have become a father to thieves in recent years is simply to wait for the right time. If you kill Dong Zhuo's rebel, you need to give me and Governor Ding a proper name. Wang Yunxin disdains. How shameless. I want to be a bitch and build a memorial archway. But this kind of thing that only requires a word of mouth can naturally be agreed to casually. Because he said, this is nature. Killing Dong Zhuo should have cleared Governor Ding and General. Lv also saw Wang Yun's disdain, but did not point it out, but said. A great man born in heaven and earth, how can he remain depressed for a long time? I, Lv, can be the emperor's adoptive father. Wang Yun almost bit his tongue off. This kid doesn't want to usurp the throne, he actually wants to become the emperor. This. I'm afraid it's not appropriate, right? Wang Yun wiped his sweat and said. Lv laughed wryly and said, What's wrong? Did Zulong worship Lu as his father back then? During the reign of Emperor Ling, it was often said that Zhang Changshi was his father and Zhao Changshi was his mother. If I become the emperor's adoptive father in the future, I will naturally do my best to assist. Wang Yun gritted his teeth and said, I really can't handle this. I need to discuss it with the emperor. General, let me know if you have any other requirements. Lv was also polite and said, You just said, such a great credit, is it always necessary to be granted a marquis? Since they have all been granted marquises, it's reasonable to add a fiefdom, right? I already have a fiefdom, it's not too much to give me some people, is it? And you said it yourself, you deserve $1 million. Although there isn't much gold, the court is also facing difficulties now, so I won't say anything. In addition, I am aware of the other buildings in Dong Zhuo's mansion and the Meiwu outside the city. Let me send someone to inspect these two places. The direct members of the Dong family are all plagiarized, and as for other unimportant individuals, I will handle them myself. As for Dong Zhuo's family property, I will take it upon myself to distribute it to my soldiers. Wang Yun's mind was buzzing with melon seeds. He didn't know how many properties Dong Zhuo had, but since he led his troops into Luoyang City, he looted the imperial palace and let his subordinates plunder freely in Luoyang City. Even stole the tomb of Emperor Ling of Han while burying Empress Dowager He. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. If you have a second heart, don't think you have. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It's not an exaggeration to say that Dong Zhuo's wealth is comparable to that of an enemy country now. Do you want to give it all to your subordinates with a light and elegant sentence? Unexpectedly, before Lu Bu could finish speaking, he added more than 20 notes in one breath before saying. Finally, I hope to meet with the emperor and finalize these matters in person. What does Lord Situ think? That's great. Such a big deal, we should let the emperor know. Wang Yunxin said you're going with the emperor yourself. But a hanging heart also came to rest. Wanting official titles, fiefdoms, and money were all expected by Wang Yun. Especially when it comes to fiefdoms, Wang Yun is eager to give Lu Bu a piece of land after the task is completed, so he can leave from afar. As long as he doesn't plan for the throne like Dong Zhuo, anything is easy to say. Apart from wanting to be the emperor's adoptive father, which is a bit excessive, everything else is acceptable. However, Lu Bu knew in his heart that since Dong Zhuo led troops to Luoyang and abolished the Han Shaoti, the imperial power of the Eastern Han dynasty had already been in name only. Nowadays, whether under the slogan of protecting the local area against the yellow turban thieves or the banner of suppressing the national thief Dong Zhuo, all parts of the country are recruiting their own troops and horses. Except for the area of Luoyang and Chang'an, who would listen to the emperor's orders. Moreover, Luoyang had already been devastated by Dong Zhuo, especially during the capital relocation. In order to collect gold and silver, Dong Zhuo almost had his soldiers plunder all the wealthy households and force the people of Luoyang to move to Chang'an together. He also set fire to the Luoyang imperial palace. Now Chang'an has not developed at all. Dong Zhuo, in order to find a way to make money, even abolished the 5 baht coins and switched to small coins, causing severe inflation, high prices, and almost collapse of the economic order. This is now a big mess. After Dong Zhuo's death, Chang'an was plunged into chaos, with many people eyeing him closely. How could Lu Bu stay in such a terrible place? He must find a stable place to develop for a period of time. Very good, then Lord Wang, please arrange for me to meet with the emperor, said Lu Bu. Wang Yun pondered for a moment and then asked, since the general has already planned this matter, I believe he already has a detailed plan in his heart. Can you please let me know? No. Lu Bu said decisively, let's talk about the conditions first. Once we have agreed, it won't be too late. Lord Wang, not to mention that I treat a gentleman's belly with a petty heart, it's better to keep a hand on such a big matter. And my method is only suitable for me to do it, even if you know it, it won't be of much use. Yes, I just want to say, General, if you need anything from me, just give me your orders. Lu Bu suddenly patted his thigh and said, I actually forgot an important request and didn't mention it. General, just say it. Wang Yun's mouth twitched. I made dozens of requests just now, haven't we finished yet? Unexpectedly, Lu Bu said, Your Excellency Wang promised to give me Diao Chan as a concubine. How can a man turn back his words when he speaks with all his might? In order not to arouse suspicion from the old thief Dong Zhuo, I will not bring Diao Chan back to the mansion for now. But I don't want to see your intention of dedicating her to Dong Zhuo again. This is natural. General, just rest assured. I will take good care of Diao Chan. When General says I want her, I will send her to the mansion. Ding Yuan breathed a sigh again. Lu Bu, you are indeed a greedy and lascivious rascal. All right, let me give Diao Chan a few words of advice. Lu Bu said, carrying Fang Tian's painted halberdian familiar with the road, and headed back to Diao Chan's boudoir. Diao Chan saw Lu Bu come and quickly knelt down on the ground. Lu Bu didn't hesitate either. Dalala sat down and said, Diao Chan, do you know your guilt? Diao Chan whimpered and said, I understand that I have committed a crime. Please punish me, General. It is only for the benefit of the country and the people that the prince has made this decision. Please do not blame me, General. Lu Bu snorted coldly and said, You're thinking about Wang Situ in your heart. It's just that both of you think I'm a fool and want to give me a green hat, and even use me as a sword envoy. You may not underestimate me, Lv Fengxian. Diao Chan kowtowed to apologize while trembling. Looking at her pitiful appearance, Lu Bu showed no mercy at all. Look good, look good. This girl is not a fuel-efficient lamp. Diao Chan's acting skills are top notch and her scheming is profound. If it weren't for her knowledge of this history, she might have really caught her way. Diao Chan, remember that now you are also my person. If you are willing to serve me wholeheartedly in the future, I will assume that this incident has never happened. If you have a second heart, don't think that if you are born more handsome than others, I will cherish your beauty. Lu Bu said coldly. Diao Chan quickly said, Thank you very much for General's mercy. I will only serve General wholeheartedly from now on, and I dare not have any other thoughts. Lu Bu sneered and said, I didn't know that my beloved concubine is so good at singing and dancing. Why, her body doesn't hurt anymore. Can she dance for Mr. Dong Zhuo? Diao Chan bowed and said, General, calm down. Last time, I also wanted to dance for you, but General is too impatient. Lu Bu said, Oh. It's my fault for not understanding the charm. All right, I won't be in a hurry today. You can dance for me to see. How dare Diao Chan say no? When you get up and have a blessing, you must start jumping. Hey, wait. But Lu Bu called for a halt. General, what other orders do you have? Diao Chan asked cautiously. Wearing so many clothes is bound to trip hands and feet, why not get rid of all the clothes outside? Lu Bu said with a wicked smile on his face. Inside the palace. 11-year-old Emperor Lu Xie sat on the dragon couch, watching Lu Bu, who was nearly 2 meters tall, walk towards him like a half-iron tower, and couldn't help but recoil in fear. Previously, Lu Xie had also met Lu Bu, but this time it made him feel an invisible pressure, making him almost forget to breathe. Weichen Lv Bu, see your majesty. Lv Bu arched his hand symbolically. Lu Qing's family is exempt from gifts. Lu Xie tried to calm himself down. Your Majesty, thank you. Lu Bu didn't hesitate and sat on the couch beside him without hesitation. I heard from Duke Wang that the Qin family has a good plan to kill Grand Tutor Dong. Lu Xie asked. Exactly. Lu Bu replied. So. Could you please tell me what the Qin family is saying? Although he is young, Lu Xie still has a bit of an emperor's airs. Lu Bu chuckled and said, Your Majesty, didn't the prince mention the few small requests I made to you? Lu Xie glanced at Wang Yun before saying, General Lv, I have a sister, Princess Wanyan. If you can really kill Dong Zhuo, the old thief, and save the Han dynasty from water and fire, how about I take charge and betroth Princess Wanyan to you? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. What is the name of the princess's daughter? This year. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Lu Bu was speechless for a moment and glanced at Wang Yun. It was probably Wang Yun's idea. He originally wanted to be Lu Xie's godfather, but Lu Xie wants to be my brother. In law. However, when Lu Bu first made this request, the price also started from scratch, and he didn't really want to be Lu Xie's godfather. Lu Bu still has some concerns about marrying a princess of 10,000 years. Yin asked, but I don't know if Princess Wanyan. Has she been abused by Dong Zhuo? Since Dong Zhuo deposed Lu Bian and appointed Lu Xie as emperor, he has been recklessly indulging in debauchery in the harem. Many concubines of Emperor Ling of Han, including Empress Dowager He, were unable to escape the clutches of Dong Zhuo, which is why Lu Bu asked this question. Wang Yun and Lu Xie both had some awkwardness on their faces. Lu Xie said, Princess Wanyan is still young, so she has never been bullied by Dong Zhuo's old thief. Wang Yun quickly said, why not invite the princess to come out and meet General Lv? Lu Xie nodded and said yes, busy asking someone to Lu Bu thought about it too. Emperor Ling of Han, Lu Hong, said, there are thousands of women in the harem, and the cost of clothing and food is hundreds of gold per day. Although Dong Zhuo is lascivious, how many people can engage in debauchery in the harem even if they have grown old? When I saw Princess Wanyan, who was only 12 or 13 years old and had not yet developed, I even believed Lu Xie's words. I have seen a great general. Princess Wanyan dared not lift her head and preached a blessing to Lv. I've seen the princess. Lu Bu also arched his hand and looked at her carefully. Princess Wanyan has big eyes and double eyelids, coupled with some fear, which makes her appear lovable. But it's just pity. Normally, Princess Guiwei should have good nutrition, but Princess Wanyan is thin and small. Is she completely a child? I don't know what the princess's name is. How old is she this year? Lu Bu asked the most impolite question without hesitation. Princess Wanyan looked up at Lu Bu and saw that he was staring at her. She then lowered her head and murmured. My name is Lu Xiao, and I am 13 years old this year. Lu Bu couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief after hearing this. Lu Xiao, it's still a normal name. There were too many strange names for princesses in the Han dynasty, starting from Princess Lu Piao of Emperor Wen of Han, many of them had strange names. In the Han dynasty, it was stipulated that women must get married before the age of 15. If they did not get married by the age of 15, they would have to pay a fine of 600 yuan per year, which would last until they got married or turned 30. Before, Lu Bu didn't realize what this law meant. After all, it was meant to stimulate population growth. But it was only by facing Lu Xiao face to face that he understood the cruelty of this law. Looking at the pitiful Lu Xiao again, Lv Bu couldn't help but feel a hint of pity in his heart. As a princess of the great Han dynasty, she should have lived a luxurious life, but unfortunately, she was born in a chaotic era and had an unreliable father who died long ago. Both brothers became emperors. One was poisoned to death by Dong Zhuo, and the other, who had been an emperor for more than 30 years, was just a puppet in someone else's hands. Even he lived in a state of anxiety, so why bother with her? In various historical materials, there is also a mention of this eternal princess, without knowing her birth and death year, without a name, and even without recording who she married. It's also pitiful enough. As he waved his hand, he said, Princess, please go back and rest. I have something important to tell your majesty and Wang Situ. Lu Xiao couldn't help but exclaim his blessings and went out. Wang Yun and Lu Xie were staring at Lu Bu intently, unsure if Lu Bu had any interest in this eternal princess. Lu Bu's heart was filled with contempt, and Wang Yun was just a scheming old man. Lu Xie, this kid, actually disregarded his sister's life and death for his own benefit. General Lv, look at the assassination of Dong Zhuo. Wang Yun asked. Kill. You must kill. Lv took out a stack of silk with written words from his arms and handed it to Lu Xie, saying. Your Majesty, let's take a look at this first. If you think there's no problem, let's have someone draft a decree and use a seal. Wang Yun couldn't help but stretch his neck to look. It turned out that they were all various imperial edicts drafted by Lu Bu long ago, some to exonerate himself, some to confer marquises on him, and some to confer official titles. After looking at it once, Wang Yun couldn't help but ask, General Lv, is there any repetition in this? This one is to worship you as the governor of Shuzhou. Why is there still a governor of Yuzhou here, and... Lu Bu chuckled and said, am I also taking preventive measures? I will take out the edict to take up the position where there is a vacancy. Wang Situ wouldn't think I wanted to be the governor of so many states at the same time, would he? Wang Yun was speechless for a moment. Lu Bu, this guy is really thoughtful. But now that Emperor Lu Xie is too preoccupied with his own affairs, who would take his imperial edict seriously? Even if you take the imperial decree and take office, the local bureaucrats don't necessarily let you be the one. Whether or not you can become one, you still have to rely on your own abilities to snatch it. Even if Lu Bu had a decree, at most he would just grab a state and change its name in a more reasonable way. The top priority is naturally to kill Dong Zhuo first. So he signaled to Lu Xie, and he handed it over to the eunuch to copy. Lv Bu then said, it's not difficult to kill the old thief Dong Zhuo, but the most important thing is to be able to stabilize the situation and not cause any war after killing him. Besides Dong Zhuo, these few people must also be eliminated. The top priority is Dong Zhuo's strategist and also his son.in.law Li Ru. Then there are Guosi and Li Yan. They both control Dong Zhuo's legitimate army, with a large number of people and excellent equipment, which is the biggest hidden danger. General Lv said very well. Wang Yun spoke with his mouth, but in his heart he was playing his own little plan. Li Ru was just a strategist who earned Dong Zhuo's trust and gave him many bad ideas. If he killed him, he would kill him. But if Guosi and Li Yan are killed, who can take over Dong Zhuo's army? 80% of the time, Lu Bu will take advantage of the situation. When Lu Bu holds a heavy army, will he become the second Dong Zhuo? You can't just listen to him for everything. And since Dong Zhuo is dead, how much more turmoil can the two martial artists, Guosi and Li Xian, cause? Are you still afraid that the two of them won't want to join me, even though Su will have high official positions and high salaries? In this way, it not only expands one's own strength, but also helps to restrain Lv Bu and prevent him from growing bigger. Isn't this a win-win strategy? After coercing Lu Xie to move to Chang'an, Dong Zhuo was considered to have reached his own territory and became even more reckless. However, Dong Zhuo also knew that he had done too much evil and had been almost assassinated multiple times, with the most dangerous one being the Yuqi Colonel Wu Fu. In the second year of Chu Ping, 191 AD, Wu Fu hid a sword in his clothes and went to visit Dong Zhuo. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. My son, I am the pioneer. Hurry up and save me. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Taking advantage of Dong Zhuo's unpreparedness, he suddenly pulled out his knife to make a mistake. Unfortunately, Dong Zhuo was wearing a soft golden armor under his clothes, and this knife did not penetrate. Dong Zhuo, who comes from a martial arts background and has some martial arts skills, actually managed to knock down Wu Fu. From this time on, Dong Zhuo remained steadfast and carried many loyal guards wherever he went. Later on, he didn't go to court much, and only allowed civil and military officials to come to his mansion or the Bai Meiwu built outside the city to report their work, as if he had already moved the court back to his own home. However, this time Dong Zhuo, dressed in court uniform, rode confidently towards the Weiyang Palace. For no other reason, he had received news from Wang Yun that Emperor Xian of Han, Lu Xie, had just recovered from a serious illness and had no intention of becoming emperor again. He wanted to hold a court meeting at the Weiyang Palace. During this period, we must declare to the world that we must abdicate the throne to Dong Zhuo. However, Dong Zhuo claims to be a person with status, so he naturally cannot attend on time. He has to wait for all the civil and military officials to arrive, and let Lu Xie and others wait for his arrival. Counting the time, I got on the car and headed to Weiyang Palace under the protection of Lv Bu, Li Su, and a group of infantry and cavalry. Arriving at the palace gate, Dong Zhuo got off the carriage with his chubby body and saw the palace gate wide open. The civil and military officials had already lined up on both sides, and on the steps, the little Emperor Lu Xie was also sitting on a dragon chair waiting for his arrival. Dong Zhuo felt proud in his heart and deliberately adjusted his clothes again. Only then did he thrust his stomach into the palace gate, surrounded by Lu Bu, Li Su, and 2 other close guards. Along the way, various civil and military officials on both sides lowered their heads to greet Dong Zhuo. Dong Zhuo agreed to it haphazardly, and all his attention was focused on the edict held by Wang Yun standing beside Lu Xie. Since being recruited into Luoyang by General He Jin in the 6th year of Zhongping, 189, in just 3 years now, I have transformed from the governor of Bingzhou, the prefect of Hedong, the general of Zhonglang, and the general of Pulu into someone who can control the little emperor. Now it's only one step away from the throne that I've been longing for. Just as the last step was still missing, Wang Yun suddenly picked up the edict and read it aloud. Listen to the decree. National thief Dong Zhuo, blaspheming the court and causing chaos to the world. Call on loyal and brave soldiers to kill Dong Zhuo. Before the words could be finished, a group of Ji Jinwu wielding sharp blades rushed out from both sides of the main hall, shouting and killing. Dong Zhuo was shocked and suddenly heard a strong wind behind him. Dong Zhuo reacted quickly and threw forward, narrowly avoiding the knife stabbed from behind by Li Su. The other 2 guards did not expect such a sudden change to occur, and without much thought, they drew their swords and rushed towards Li Su. Dong Zhuo was even more frightened and shouted, "My son, come and save me." Lu Bu's heart was filled with anger. He had originally planned to pretend to be coerced in front of civil and military officials, rebuking Dong Zhuo's guilt, and then stabbing Dong Zhuo to death with a righteous one. Who would have thought that Li Su would be the first to take credit for this damn thing? This adoptive father must be stabbed by himself. Regardless of whether Li Su and the 2 guards had fought, he shouted loudly, "I was ordered to kill the thief, but Dong Zhuo will be killed." He then stabbed Dong Zhuo's thigh with a square drawn halberd in his hand. Dong Zhuo screamed out in fear and dodged the halberd with a nimble posture that was completely different from his obese body. Then he knelt down on the ground with his hands and feet, and crawled forward, shouting and cursing, "What a dog! How dare you do this? Ah!" It turned out that before he could finish shouting, Lv Bu sent the Fang Tianhua halberd in his hand and plunged it into Dong Zhuo's valley path with a thud. However, Fang Tianhua's halberd had a small branch, and now it only poked the tip of the halberd into it, causing it to stagnate. Lu Bu let out a loud shout and exerted force on his arms, even standing up the Fang Tianhua halberd in his hand. The curved halberd fully proves Dong Zhuo's weight. Dong Zhuo was so painful that he scraped his hands and feet, and his mouth screamed incessantly, like a huge toad stuck in a tree branch. Everyone was stunned. I've heard of Lv Bu's innate divine power, and today I saw that he was truly amazing. And this super millennium killing move is too eye-catching and cruel. The tip of Fang Tianhua's halberd does not have a blood groove, so although Dong Zhuo Dao was pierced, there was no scene of blood pouring down, only a strand of blood flowing down and wetting the red tassel on the head of the halberd. The 2 guards saw that Dong Zhuo had suffered such a great crime and didn't care to entangle with Li Su. They shouted and rushed towards Lv Bu, hoping to save Dong Zhuo. Lu Bu didn't panic either. He lifted his long legs and whipped the side head of a guard in front of him. The guard fell to a baby-like sleep without even snorting. Then Lu Bu made a magnificent turn, kicked out his hind legs, hit the second person's lower abdomen, and kicked him out more than a foot away. The guard struggled to get up, but was already attacked by Li Su and had his head chopped off. Lu Bu didn't look much anymore, carrying a halberd and carrying Dong Zhuo, he walked up the steps. Your Majesty, Lu Bu is fortunate enough to live up to his fate. He has already captured Dong Zhuo, the old man, here. Please release him, Your Majesty. Little Emperor Lu Xie had already been scared to pee, sitting on the dragon chair for half a day without moving. At this moment, when Lu Bu asked him, he realized and burst into tears, crying and using his hands and feet, he ran back. Sharp-eyed people could see clearly that Lu Xie's dragon robe and chair were all wet, indicating that he had really peed. Wang Yun quickly said, General Lv, Dong Zhuo, the old thief, deserves his death. There's no need to bring him over for your Majesty's interrogation. Just kill him. Lu Bu agreed to throw Dong Zhuo heavily onto the steps. Dong Zhuo let out a muffled groan as he was thrown and pointed at Lu Bu, cursing, Lu Bu. You cunning little person. I treat you with kindness like a mountain, and you. How could you repay me with kindness? Isn't it that Lu Bu came at this opportunity? In front of all the courtiers, he laughed harshly and said, Dong Zhuo, do you really think I'm defecting to you? I surrendered my head to you as Governor Ding, but it was just a strategy set by Governor Ding and me, just to be able to kill you, a national thief today. Now that great things are about to happen, Governor Ding can rest in peace even if he has knowledge under the spring. Dong Zhuo said again, my son. You. Let me go and kill all these people. In the future, if I become the emperor, you will be the great general. I will give you the throne after I die. No, you let me go, and I will make you emperor tomorrow. Lu Bu sneered and said, old thief. How dare you say such heinous and immoral words even when you are on the brink of death? I, Lu Bu, am at odds with you, such unruly officials and thieves. Let's die. As the scene was over, Lv Bu stepped forward and stepped on his back. He grabbed Dong Zhuo's bun with his left hand and pulled out a 7-star sword from his waist with his right hand. He cut off one of Dong Zhuo's chubby heads like a slaughtered chicken with a few cuts, and held it in his hand with blood. Wang Yun and others were so frightened that they quickly took 2 steps back. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. General, why not join forces with me to help? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although others hated Dong Zhuo's brutality, seeing such a bloody scene of slaughter couldn't help but make their hearts tremble. I don't know who said first, so everything Lv Fengxian did was to kill the thief. We all blamed him wrong. Exactly. In ancient times, there was a king of you who lay on firewood and tasted courage, but now there is Lu Bu who is willing to recognize the thief as his father to achieve great things. I admire him, I admire him. Everyone else also reacted and agreed. Lu Xie trembled and said, Lu Qin is truly a wise minister of my great Han dynasty. Lu Bu dropped the blood on the blade and arched his hand, saying, Your Majesty. Sir Situ, the old thief Dong Zhuo has already been executed. I will go and kill the other accomplices who assisted Zhuo in his tyranny. After speaking, he pulled out Fang Tianhua's halberd and rubbed it against Dong Zhuo's body. With one hand holding the halberd and the other holding Dong Zhuo's head, he strode down the stairs and walked out of the palace gate. He then turned over and mounted his horse towards Dong Zhuo's Taisha mansion. Only then did the civil and military ministers react and shout, Long live Some cried bitterly and lamented that the national bandits had finally been executed, while others used their courage to kick Dong Zhuo's body a few times. Wang Yun asked someone to hang Dong Zhuo's body at the street corner for public display. The people of Chang'an have been suffering from Dong Zhuo for a long time. Now that they see Dong Zhuo dead, they all go up and fight, and in no time, they will destroy Dong Zhuo's body completely. Dear fellow villagers, do you know how Dong Zhuo died? A soldier who was looking at the corpse suddenly asked loudly. This topic immediately aroused the interest of the people. A middle-aged man said, I heard that Lv Bu and Lv Feng killed Dong Zhuo first. Before he could finish speaking, someone sneered, how could that be? Don't you know that Lv Bu is a loyal dog under Dong Zhuo? How many bad things have he done to help Dong Zhuo? The soldier scolded, then don't talk nonsense. The head of Dong Zhuo's old thief this time was killed by General Lv. General Lv willingly surrendered to Dong Zhuo for 3 years in order to assassinate him, and only then did he have this opportunity to kill the old thief. But when Lv Bu left the Weiyang Palace and climbed onto a red rabbit horse, he galloped all the way to Dong Zhuo's Taisha mansion, and the entire Taisha mansion was already filled with deafening noise. Originally, Lu Bu had already planned to divide his 800 trapped troops into 2 teams. One team was led by Gao Shun to attack Meiwu, while the other team was led by Zhang Liao to attack Dong Zhuo's Taisha mansion. As for his family members, Lv Bu was very reassured to let Wei Su protect them and settle them in Wang Yun's house. He believes that Wang Yun will definitely prioritize ensuring the safety of his family. At the same time, there is also a reassuring meaning for Wang Yun. My family has been entrusted to you for protection, and you still don't trust me. Of course, Lv Bu also had a 10% chance, and Wang Yun dared not take any action against his family. Directly galloping into the Taisha mansion, there were already many corpses lying in a mess inside. Although Dong Zhuo is violent, he also knows how to buy people's hearts. Especially those old subordinates who followed him all the way from Liangzhou, who used to follow Dong Zhuo to commit crimes in Liangzhou. Later, he first followed Dong Zhuo in burning, killing, and looting in Luoyang City, and then came to Chang'an to act recklessly, which can be considered as gaining many benefits with Dong Zhuo. At this time, the Grand Tutor's mansion was attacked and he was willing to fight to the death to resist. Upon arriving at the second hospital, he saw Zhang Liaozheng wielding a crescent halberd and Su Rong, wielding an iron-spine snake-patterned spear, fighting together. The two of them have played countless rounds but have not been able to determine the winner. Stop it! Lu Bu shouted loudly and urged his horse to move forward. Fang Tian drew a halberd in his hand and immediately dodged both of their weapons. Zhang Liao obediently collected his weapons, while Su Rong pointed a spear at Lv Bu and shouted, the child of Lv Bu is unpredictable. The Grand Tutor treats us well. Today, if he dares to make his subordinates rebel against the Grand Tutor, he will be captured without dismounting. However, Lu Bu ignored and instead raised Dong Zhuo's head in public, shouting loudly, the people in the Grand Tutor's mansion have all listened. Dong Zhuo, the old thief, caused chaos in politics, deposed the emperor, poisoned the empress dowager, eradicated dissidents, framed loyalty and righteousness, indulged in debauchery in the harem, set fire to Luoyang, and committed all kinds of evil deeds, which angered both humans and gods. Now Lu Bu has been executed by the emperor's decree, and the head of the old thief is here. The emperor has an edict to only punish the chief culprit, and everyone else will forget their past responsibilities. Why did you sacrifice your life for a dead traitor and villain? Quickly put down your weapons, Rao heir, wait for me to die. Zhang Liao also shouted in unison with the soldiers trapped in the camp. Dong Zhuo's former troops in the Taisha mansion were already killed by the brave soldiers trapped in the camp, and now it is heard that Dong Zhuo has died. Where is their still fighting spirit? They all threw down their weapons and bound themselves. Su Rong still refused to put down his heirs and surrender, so Lv Bu had to turn to Dong Zhuo again just to get rid of him today. Zhang Liao also helped to say, Su Rong. General Lv and I were both under the command of Governor Ding. In order to kill Dong Zhuo today, Governor Ding spared his own life, and General Lv endured humiliation and was willing to accept the thief as his father. How dare you say he is a fickle person? Seeing that Su Rong was still skeptical, Lv Bu waved his hand to Zhang Liao and said to Su Rong. General Su was not originally from Liangzhou, and Dong Zhuo did not consider you a confidant. I know you only want to be loyal to the Han court. Dong Zhuo's evil deeds are countless and difficult to record. He alone poisoned King Huaibian and Empress Dowager He, which is enough to execute his 9 clans. Why are you obsessed with not realizing it now? A great man born in a chaotic world should bring a 3-foot sword and make immortal achievements. Why don't you join me in helping the Han dynasty, pacifying the world, and benefiting the people? Killing Su Rong is not a difficult task for Lu Bu, but he needs to gather talents for his own use now. Nowadays, the situation of feudal separatism has formed, and Gongsun Zan, Yuan Shao, Yuan Shu, Cao Cao and others have their own territory. And he has just started, with only these 3 or 4 generals under his command, 1,000 or 800 people, who can't even stand a city. He must now recruit troops, buy horses, and win people's hearts like Cao Cao and Liu Bei. And Su Rong's performance during the campaign against Dong Zhuo by the 18 route marquises can be said to be quite impressive. He first beat Cao Cao to pieces in the Bianshui River, and Cao Cao's warhorse was shot to death. He himself was also shot by an arrow, but he still ran into Cao Hong while fleeing. He only managed to escape by riding Cao Hong's horse. Later, Su Rong's troops encountered Sun Jian again, and the 2 sides erupted in the Battle of Liangdong. As a result, Sun Jian, who was known for his bravery and combat prowess, was beaten to the point where he fled with only a few dozen of his own soldiers. In order to avoid pursuit, I even lost my iconic red headscarf. The 2 most outstanding feudal lords who fought against Dong Zhuo were all brutally defeated by Su Rong, who was truly a rare talent. However, after Dong Zhuo's death, Su Rong defected to Wang Yun. Shortly after, the generals of Liangzhou, Li Yan and Guosi, rebelled at the instigation of Jia Su and rushed towards Chang'an, quickly arriving near Chang'an. Wang Yun sent Su Rong and Hu Zhen to meet the enemy. But Hu Zhen was originally Dong Zhuo's former subordinate in Liangzhou, so he defected before the battle. Su Rong had to fight the rebels alone and died in Xinfeng due to being outnumbered. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.